India and Japan, who enjoy a special strategic and global partnership, intend to meet the challenges facing the global order. Balances are being sought and occasionally achieved. India and Japan seek to make the UN structures more contemporary. The world will watch how we support each other in this shared goal through various relationships and initiatives. This session is about how India and Japan, who enjoy a special strategic and global partnership, intend to meet the challenges facing the global order. There are many aspects to this subject, and I will flag 8 points that I believe are worthy of debate. The first pertains to the order itself, created by the accumulation of political and economic rebalancing, accelerated by globalization, and now reflected in emerging multipolarity. Whatever metrics we use, GDP, technology, influence, or demography, the top 20 or 30 nations today are not what they were 2 decades ago. Even less so what they were 4 or 8 decades ago. Not only are the countries that impact us different, but so are the relative weight, importance, and capability. As a result, new balances are being sought and occasionally achieved. This drives the volatility that we currently characterize as the global order. The second refers to the structure of the order that has frayed in many ways, becoming less predictable or even less disciplined. In fact, there is a considerable amount of disorder. It has become much harder to create a consensus among more players, especially as they do not agree on their inter se position. What we see in multilateralism, especially the United Nations, is both an expression of this as well as a cause. Consequently, we are turning increasingly to like-minded partners who gather together for a particular purpose. The third is in regard to the landscape. After 1945, this was neatly compartmentalized into theaters for the convenience of dominant powers. That has begun to change as capabilities are constrained and commitments come into question. A more modest era requires greater collaboration. And it also requires wider arenas to be effective. A good example of this is the emergence of the Indo-Pacific. Fourth, there are the different challenges that we confront. 3 decades of globalization have created tremendous economic and technology concentrations, which now have major strategic implications. These have led to the leveraging of trade, of investment, connectivity, resources, even of mobility. In many cases, the nature of power itself has undergone a change. This has been aggravated further by the impact of technology. National boundaries no longer provide effective defense. On the contrary, every technology advance, AI or chips, green or clean tech, space or drones, has also brought its own new vulnerabilities. Few nations can deal with it on their own. At the same time, the competition for primacy has also become more intense. Fifth, to add to this mix is a shift in global attitudes. The unequal benefits of globalization and the stagnation in the quality of life of many societies has created political backlash. The trauma of COVID has made the world even more insecure. We have all experienced what it is to depend on others for basic necessities. Strategic autonomy is therefore sought by many more countries and regions. Sixth, in this background, it is not surprising that global risk-taking has been on the increase. We see it in conflict in Europe, in disregard for international law in Asia, and in the ongoing developments in the Middle East, and often in the weaponization of the normal. Long-standing agreements are not being necessarily observed, raising question marks about the stability of the environment in which we all operate. Seventh, the most universal expression of the global order is still the United Nations. Its reform is therefore of paramount importance. As fellow members of the G4 grouping, India and Japan seek to make the UN structures more contemporary. This is clearly an uphill task, but one in which we must persevere. As to powers that are so central to multipolarity in Asia, it is also in our common interest that the overall balance remains in favor of freedom, openness, transparency, and a rules-based order. The world will watch how we support each other in this shared goal through various relationships and initiatives. FOIP, which Prime Minister Kishida mentioned at length, is particularly important in this regard.